6. Hope you guys are excited about it as I am. Those that are listening online, probably from a comfortable chair and drinking a cold one and not in the barn. Actually, the barn's not that hot. We're doing okay. You guys doing okay? Perfect, good deal. That was some efforts by Diane. She got in here and got the fans going to cool this place off. So we thank you, Diane, for doing that. And first thing I'm gonna do, I'm really proud of this long-range planning committee, and I want them to introduce themselves, and I want them to tell you what they do, and also something that they like about Sudden Valley. So I'm gonna have you start. You can sit down. It's okay.
Hello, my name's April West. I'm relatively new to Sudden Valley, which is why I wanted to get involved. Just moved here about 9 months ago, so I'm very interested in just getting involved in the community and meeting everyone. So far, I love everything about it.
As opposed to my neighbor here, my name is Elizabeth Huthert, and I'm old in the valley. My husband and I moved here in 2000 when we retired, and we selected this community because, well, obviously it's beautiful, but also because it had a wide variety of people. It wasn't just seniors, there was children, there was adults, there was people who were still working, there was people who were retired, and we wanted that variety. I started volunteering for different organizations and committees here that year, and I have volunteered every year since at various things. So a lot of you know me. Some of you may even like me. But I'm not going away. I'm going to be here until they plant me in the ground. And because of that, I have a very strong commitment to this community.
Hello, my name is Gary Bara. I live in Gate 2. I've lived here a little over 8 years. I like getting involved in the community, different things. I love all of the amenities, especially the new tennis courts. When I first moved here, the tennis courts were pretty bad. We had like the Grand Canyon through one of the tennis courts. So I'm so happy to see that the Sudden Valley has taken care of that. And just hoping to help in some way to make this a better place. It's a great place, but even a better place. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Hello, my name is Ken Polder, and Timmy and I have been in Gate 1 for 28 years now. We've had a home there, and more recently, our daughter has moved into the area and her family, and just a couple doors down for the last 4 years, so that's great. We love this area. We love all the recreational things that it provides, the lake, the golfing, all the other things, just the community. We think it's a great spot to call home. And, you know, we just love being part of this, the valley. We love being part of this group. We love, you know, as a matter of fact, Ray asked us, to talk a little bit about what we really like. Well, I got out of the lake about 6 o'clock. And here I am. You know, I went for a swim, got changed, and here I am today. So everything is really close, and it's just a great spot to live. It's a great spot to raise our grandchildren. We really love it here, and we are heavily invested in the community, and we just want the best for the community.
Thanks, Ken. My name is Rick Asai. I, along with Ray, serve on the board of directors here at Sudden Valley. And my wife and I moved here about 2.5 years ago, a few years after we retired. We really love the beauty and the outdoors access here, and many of the amenities as well. So I've done some volunteer work in the past working on various boards, and I felt like it gave me an opportunity to help contribute and hopefully continue to create a place where Sun Valley maintains its beauty, along with being in a safe place as well.
Thank you. You know, this board, we meet every first Thursday of every month. We've had 7 official meetings, and then Rick and I make everybody work a little bit harder and make subcommittees, so they have to have more meetings. So, you know, you start with a sign up 2-hour meeting once a month, not too bad. And then you get a subcommittee, hey, that's another 2 hours. So you got 4 hours times 7, you got 28 hours in. This is free labor. They're doing it for the community. Pretty cool. And you can tell, yeah. Well, the agenda tonight is going to be fun. It should be fun. We did the introductions there, and we have a short PowerPoint. It's like 9 slides. Myself and Rick are going to share. And then after the PowerPoint presentation, we're going to bring up our architect who's here tonight. Could you stand up, please? This is Quientin Sutton. He's our architect for Carletti. So we'll have him share. And then, of course, you can't have a town meeting unless there's questions and comments and answers, and you feel good about what happened. You spent this hour and a half with us in a warm barn. But that opportunity will come. We'd like to present. We might answer some questions as we present, and it might create more questions, which is fine. So we want questions, and we like comments. Everybody beats to a different drum, so everybody's going to absorb this a little bit differently than somebody else, and that's good. God made us all different, right? Otherwise, if we're all the same, we'd be boring. So one thing Sudden Valley does, we've got a variety of personalities, and that's awesome. So maybe I can get, Ken's already on it, on the lights. Perfect. So we're going to go with I'll go to the first slide there, Spencer. Spencer's awesome too. Let's give him a hand. This guy. I know very little about IT and PowerPoint, but I got through all of it. Microsoft named this program PowerPoint. Okay, I want nobody to think just because we got a PowerPoint that us up here and Rick and I got power. We don't. We just live here. We got good news. We got solutions. So I just want to share with you. No power. This is not a power deal at all. So back in February 13th, the board of directors directed the Long Range Planning Committee to determine options for Barn 8. We're in Barn 8. For those who are new, this is Barn 8 and Barn 6. And Barn 6 is the barn that's fenced off down there that looks like it went through World War II. So this will be our report and findings with our recommendations. We have presented this to the board of directors, and the board of directors, hey, you got to let everybody know about this. So please share ASAP. That's why this happens so fast. Like, get it out there. So that's why it happened fast and happened on a hot day, and we could get a room and we got a screen. So that's what's happening. The next slide, please, Spencer. Some history. A lot of you do know the history, but some don't. I had to dig up some myself. I've lived here for 7 years. I love Sudden Valley. That's why I am involved. But Barn 7 was built in 1961. It was built for animals. And then Barn 6 and 8, we're in 8, was built between 1961 and 67 for, once again, for animals. The rotunda. I never saw the rotunda, but I see where it was. The rotunda was in Gate 1, and what I am told, that it was used for the mailman, and he sorted all the mail and packages for the gates. And then later, it was used for meetings with Valley people, doing meetings, and they had receptions there. I've met 2 couples that had their wedding reception in the rotunda. So they actually had some real functions there. And then the Adult Center was built in 1965. That's where the Whatcom Library is presently. And then Barn 7 was the home for the library for a short time. Friends, which is a group that is friends with the library and supports programs, they had raised money, almost like $485,000, to upgrade Barn 7 to turn it into a library. And that happened, and they moved in. The library was in there for a very short time, and then really, really unfortunately, there was beetles, like wood beetles, eating stuff up. And it was not going to be safe for people to be there, or children, anybody. So what happened was the library moved to the Adult Center across the way where it is presently today. Barn 7 was removed, gone, nothing replaced. It's kind of where the green space between this barn and Barn 6 is. It's grass now. And then the rotunda was removed in 2015. And that's kind of where we're at on buildings. Okay, the next slide, Spencer. There's been some previous proposals for building at Sudden Valley. There was a proposal in 2017. The project was called Revitalization. There's a proposal for $5 million. It went to vote, and it failed by a narrow margin. And some things happened, but not much. No building happened, nothing building. And then in 2023, there was a proposal for an enclosed gym for $2.1 million, and then that failed. And then the same ballot in 2023 was an open-air pavilion for $1.1 million to preserve the footprint of Barn 6. That passed. Passed what they call an advisory vote, but nothing happened. This is 2025. Nothing has happened. So let's move to the next slide, Spencer. So the committee that we have, and you've met some of them, we are missing a couple. We do have Mitch Waterman is also on this committee, and he has to attend an 80-year-old birthday party for a dear friend that I told him that's high priority. That's huge. Somebody's 80 needs the respect. And are we missing anybody else? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we got it. Okay. Oh, and yeah, and Chad Avery is on this too. He's from Gate. Do you know what gate he's in? Gate 9? Yeah, Gate 9. Chad Avery. I'm not sure where he's at. Okay, so this committee, we came together. It was like, what really amenities can we replace in Barn 6? We have a population of 7,776 people per Google. This is fairly recent. And out of that population, there's 1,400 people that are 65 plus. So that's a lot. I'm in that group. It's okay. You're a safe place. A lot of us there. There's 1,500 children. That's huge. Um, One of the things that we were missing was, our library is where the adult center was, so we need an adult center. And of all the things that I get requested of, and things that do come in the email, is we need an adult center place. Makes sense. So adult center is on the docket. A multi-purpose rec area, that's something that everybody can use. And then kitchen to support the rental spaces or birthday parties, an adult center, or all of us, someplace to meet. And then if we had a venue for like weddings and events and big anniversaries and big birthday parties, for a non-dues revenue, to bring in revenue and not just out, but have a way to bring some funds in with a nice building. And also to create some meeting rooms for the clubs that we have. We have knitting clubs, we have art clubs, we have Girl Scouts, we have Boy Scouts, we got garden club, we got all kinds of clubs. We need rooms to meet. Next slide, please. So Barn 6 is new building. So new building that would be 50 plus years life expectancy. That's huge. Probably more. We'll probably ask Quientin how many more. But 50 years is pretty good. Something new that's up to code. It's got all the handicap requirements that's needed. That'd be awesome. Something that has HVAC in it. Wow. Meeting rooms again, kitchen, restrooms, a family restroom has been requested. There's lots of babies around here, lots of moms. They want like a family restroom that they can change their kids and stuff. Makes sense. All the restaurants have them. Roll-up boards for farmer market or for events. Roll up fresh air. Get inside the gym. Be good. On the second level, it's not a full floor, but it's a mezzanine, about 1,500 feet that you could dance on if you wanted to. It has an adult center, designated adult center, awesome, plus an adult lounge, kitchen to support that, and meeting rooms, and the area that's wide open that has something to provide space is called the Commons. I got that from Quientin. He came up with that name, the Commons, like for wedding receptions and party venues. And there is a need for that type of venue, even within our neighborhood here. I have a lady on our block. She says, Ray, I have 3 daughters. They're getting married this year. Where can we have it? In Sudden Valley. We don't have. She said the girls did not like this building to have a party, have a wedding. So they got to go to Canada. 3, that's a rough year. 3 girls in 1 year. Well, another great idea, this came from Quientin. He got all kinds of good ideas, but one of them is to have this kind of like a community safe building with a backup generator. Just like, we had the cyclone, which I think was a breaking point for the community. It kind of gathered. They cared for each other. It was awesome. I saw it. Great, really great. And I saw people the tree went through their condo and lights out, gas leaks, and they could go to their neighbors. They didn't have power either, but they had a house. This would be a safe building with a backup generator, have showers, and a safe place. We hope for no more cyclones, absolutely not. But we do know that once in a while, our power goes out. What if your power went out for 10 days and you really would like to get a hot shower, in some place that had power and we could get a hot meal? That would be Sudden Valley taking care of their own. Okay? So kudos to Quientin for thinking of that. Good idea. The next slide, please, Spencer. Let's go slide. I'm missing a slide. Did I got one more? Maybe I go back one. Okay, that's the one I need. Thank you. So this is the part that has some potential of revenue. This is the second floor in Barn 6 that has restrooms, a kitchen, adult center, meeting rooms. It's got a balcony that you can put 49 people on, and you could see the lake and the golf course. It has an area for dancing, 1,500 square feet. And I met with a wedding planner and a coordinator, and I showed her the blueprints, and she had done weddings in the barn, this barn. She knew Sudden Valley well, and she knew all the venues in Bellingham. And she figured this all out, and she called around. We popped up all the websites of all the different places to try to figure out the market for 1,500 square feet with a kitchen, and it's about anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, and you rent the place out for from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. The rental season is June to October, and just say if we rented the place 10 times for $4,000, that would be $40,000 revenue. This is very conservative, but there's things, this type of market it goes all the way up to 10,000. Just depends on how far somebody wants to get into the business. They call it, if you have a place, you have chairs, you have white chairs, you have tablecloths, you have silverware, you have plates, all that stuff, and all that's cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And, this planner was like very, very excited about opportunities, something like this, that could really put Sudden Valley on the map, because this is a beautiful place. We have parking and a beautiful place. So it's a way to get revenue. Existing parking. Yeah. No, we do it. We'll have to figure that out, I guess. Okay, you bet. Okay. So I've got, I'm going to have Rick come and share a couple slides before we have Quientin. But I need to tell you about Rick. He's on the board, like he said, and he's one of those guys. The first time I met him, I was in this building downstairs, and we both showed up for a position that was vacant on the board. And we showed up, and 6 or 7 other people showed up, and we were down in the basement, and they bring you up one at a time, and the board's up here, and like, they ask you all these questions, and then you sit down, we do all this. Anyway, we went through the 6 or 7 people, and at the end of it, Rick and myself, they had 8 board members, and they both voted 4 and 4. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, flip a coin. No. We're going to ask you more questions. So they ask us more questions. It voted again, 4 and 4. And then me and Rick are just looking at each other, kind of laughing. And then we're going to ask you 2 more questions. You're getting really tough about this. These are going to be hard questions. So we survived the 2 more hard questions. They vote again, 4 and 4. It's his 3rd time. They did it 4 times. It's amazing. Finally, somebody was really smart, and they picked the right guy. It was Rick. Rick was the right guy. And I found that out because eventually we're both on the board now. But there was a situation where we needed a safety committee for Sudden Valley. There's lots of stuff going on. We got fire, we got trees, we got roads, we got all kinds of stuff. And well, who can we get for a safety guy? Rick said, I'll do it. It's our safety chairman. He's doing a hell of a job. And then we had another day where a surprise, we had a vacancy for treasurer. And you know what? This guy, I'm a numbers guy. I can do that. So this guy's got tasks. He serves. I don't know how many hours he serves a week, but I try to do fun things with him, and he's always working. So we got the right guy, and Rick's going to talk about the numbers that go with this amazing design. And he's the right guy. He's our treasurer. Give him a hand.
Well, thanks, Ray. What Ray didn't share with you was that there was another opening on the board later in the same year, last year. And so there were a bunch of people that applied for that position as well. And the board quickly chose Ray. So congratulations to you, Ray. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the financial aspect. I think, you know, what Ray has presented is very appealing. It fulfills a lot of needs that we want to see at Sudden Valley to have it continue to be a thriving, active center for our Sudden Valley community. So next slide, Spencer. Okay, so this is the concept as drawn up by Quientin and his team of what the exterior would look like. There's also a printed version in the back, and this will be up on the screen later. So I think it looks pretty sharp. I think certainly looks a lot more inhabitable than what's standing there now. Okay, next slide, Spencer. Okay, so what is all this going to cost? So we threw that question to Quientin, and he spent a lot of time looking at all the details that we had wanted to incorporate into the barn to fulfill our desired needs and services that we wanted to provide. And this is the number that comes up, 8.403958. So how are we going to pay for that? Well, that's part of my job as treasurer, try to help figure that out. I spent several hours talking with Joel Heverling, our accountant and the chief financial officer. So he has assured us we've got some funds set aside already for Barn 6. What we wanted to do as a board and as a long-range planning committee is to try and keep the monthly assessment to a manageable number. So that involves a longer-term loan. So in order to, we know what the costs are. The board had a very thorough investigative kind of invasive inspection of this building to see exactly what structural deficiencies there were. And so we have a number for that. And we have this number. Combining those two, if we were to do them both at the same time, the monthly assessment would be $24 a month. That's based on today's interest rates, which is 7.25. Chances are the interest rates will probably be lower next year if we were to start with this. And so what the long-range planning committee is suggesting that the board consider is that we start with building Barn 6, and we would only need a $13 a month assessment to build out Barn 6. The term of that loan would be at 7.25% would be in the neighborhood of 20 years. Next slide. So why start with Barn 6? Well, there's a lot of activity that happens in Barn 8. If we were to start with Barn 8 before Barn 6 is built, we would lose functionality of this, all these activities that are here. And so we want to try to and avoid that loss of use. So by starting with Barn 6, we can continue those activities and functionalities that we have here in Barn 8 and not lose that. Once Barn 6 is completed, then we could move on to do the necessary repairs and structural improvements on Barn 8. When Barn 8 is being repaired, restructured, reinforced to meet current code, the activities that do occur in Barn 8 then could be moved to Barn 6 temporarily, so that we don't have that loss of function that would occur if we started with repairing Barn 8 first. So, $13 a month, that's a little less than 50 cents a day for a period of time. So then when Barn 8 repairs would be started in maybe a couple of years after, 2 to 3 years after Barn 6 starts, that would require an approximate, the balance, $11 a month assessment to get up to the 24. So I think, next slide. So now I'd like to introduce you again to Quientin Sutter and have him kind of give an overview from his point of view as an architect, what the pros are of having a new functional building. Ray's going to be handing out a summary of the breakdown of the financial costs of building that building. So please welcome Quientin Sutter with Carletti Architects.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Good evening. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to kind of discuss this before tomatoes start flying my way. Oh, is this a little bit better? Okay. So, you know, obviously a big sticker shock. I don't, just to back up a little bit, they all got to say what they like about this community. I don't live in this community, but I can tell you that I'm jealous of this community because of all the resources and everything that you have here. So this is kind of a really interesting project, I would say, for the community. Ray approached us a few months back about this Barn 6 replacement. It was part of this long-term planning, and I think that's kind of a big picture that we always have to think about. It's long-term, long-term, long-term. It's not something that we're just trying to band-aid for the next couple of years. And so since we're getting into this project, it's kind of like, it's just ink on paper right now. So let's put everything out there. Let's put out all the wants, all the needs, kind of the overall dream, and get a cost estimate to kind of see where we land and kind of go from there, right? It's easier to kind of grab the bigger picture and then scale back as opposed to trying to sell something small and then continue on. That 8.4 million, I know is probably a big sticker shock. That does include like your sales tax, A&E fees, permitting fees, stuff like that. Really the building cost is about 7.2 million. And it might be on the conservative side a little bit, but we use a cost estimator, Matt Woolsey, which we use a lot for all our fire station designs that our firm do. And we're usually within a couple percentages when we actually go out to bid a project. So I feel pretty confident about the number, but I also am not going to sit up here and sell you a project and say, yeah, we can do this for 4.5 million, sign me up, and then, you know, it kind of blows it out of the water. So trying to be upfront and realistic with everyone, this is the cost to do a barn this size. It doesn't look like we have floor plans up here, but there's floor plans out there. I encourage you to take a look at them. You know, there's the whole gymnasium floor space. There's the first floor and the second floor with stacked restrooms. There's an elevator for ADA accessibility. Sprinkler system, full-on new mechanical systems, generator. It's the whole belt and suspenders, right? I mean, you can see from the rendering, I don't think we're doing anything that's out of the ordinary. We're not flying in tile from Italy or anything like this. These are kind of just your kind of standard bare bones commercial finishes. I mean, it's metal siding, it's aluminum windows, durability. You know, all that being said, there's definitely ways we can save money, right? I mean, maybe we can delete the dormers off of it. Maybe we can get rid of the overhead doors. Maybe we can get rid of the windows. Maybe we go to vinyl windows instead of aluminum. Sure, there's probably opportunities there to bring this cost estimate down. But I think the reality is if you want to build a barn of this size with all these interior amenities, you're not going to take a $7.2 million building and value engineer it down to $5 million. I mean, there's probably some ways we can kind of do maybe design build with a contractor on board earlier with some VE items, kind of negotiated bid. And so there's maybe some savings on there. Maybe we can cut this thing back to save a couple $100K off of it. But the bottom line is, if you really want it to be a $5 million project, you got to build less building, is kind of the reality is from my perspective as a professional. So that's kind of the whole route that we went. So we developed a plan, some elevations, a rough section of all these wants and needs, the whole bucket, and then sent it out to Matt Woolsey so he can cost estimate it. We kind of went back and forth. And this is kind of where we landed today to present to you guys, to have your opportunity to talk about it, ask me questions, ask the board questions. Part of this too is we're keeping within the footprint of the barn, so we're not doing any site work either. The only site work we're going to be doing is upgrading water lines, upgrading power. The existing barn is a 200 amp service. We got to update that to a 400 amp service with all the uses that are in there, connecting to the sewer, the generator. So that's kind of minimal site work. That way we're not triggering any like storm water detention or anything like that. So. And you know, it kind of, I know it's a tough decision and there's a lot of, you know, probably there's a lot of thoughts about, well, we have this barn and we can just remodel it, which I don't disagree with. You definitely can remodel this barn and it's got some unique features, but it is what was designed and built as a barn 70 years ago that's been slowly rehabbed into actual occupancy space. I mean, you know, really with this new building, because of the assembly with wedding, potentially alcohol being served, gymnasium, large events, those go into the whole assembly spot for the IBC and the code. So all of a sudden it's a risk 4 category building. I don't think you get that with this. So it's a lot to weigh and balance, and you know, you can put a lot of money into this and rehab it and get your seismic, but then you're still just stuck with what this is versus, I know it's a big number, trying to build something that's brand new from the ground up, that's designed to be a habitable building that meets seismic codes for a category 4, and is something that you have long-term wise 50 years and gives you a lot more flexibility for what you can do here. But it's not an easy decision. I understand, and it's okay if you guys want to throw tomatoes at me, it's fine. But I'm here for any questions, and I just want everyone to make the right decision of what you want for your community, and I'm here just to help to advise what Barn 6 is and that cost relative to it.
I think we can get the lights on. And this is the time that we've been getting our town meeting to happen here. We'll have an opportunity for questions and comments. I think the best way that I've seen it done in the past that worked fairly efficiently is that you come to the podium, introduce who you are, and then ask your question. And Quientin, I'll have you go over by Rick, please. And Quientin and Rick, myself, and our committee, we might know some of these answers that you ask. If we don't, we will research and figure it out by Friday. So if you could just ask one question until everybody has asked one question. If you have another question, then you can start over again with your second question. And is everybody okay with that? Okay. The podium is open. The mic is live. I'll give it in your hand and tell us who you are. Thank you for coming.
Thanks a lot, you guys. That was great. My name is Blaze. I live here. And so my quick question was, I'm confused about the gym. Like, are we going to get a new gym or are we going to keep the old gym? Does that make sense? Like the gym downstairs is kind of small. And I'd like a,
Oh, he's talking about.
yeah, but that's not like a gym, right? That's like just like a gymnasium. Yeah, whatever you want to call it downstairs. A fitness center, like a fitness center.
The exercise room downstairs, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that'll be retained here, but when Barn 8 is being refurbished, that will be moved temporarily over into the multi-use area in Barn 6 so that we don't lose that functionality.
Okay, but the fitness center isn't getting expanded technically.
It may get expanded, yes. after
In this
Barn 6.
building? In this building?
Yes, so we were trying to focus mostly on Barn 6, but yes, Barn 8, there's discussions about, and we talked with the recreation manager about that, and he said we could probably use some more space down there. So rearranging some of the office space that's down there adjacent to the existing room,
Okay.
and expanding that out. So that is kind of in the back of our mind.
Okay. So down the road, but it could expand downstairs.
Yes.
But it's not going to be a new fitness center in the new barn.
No.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Stephen Miller, and I live in Gate 5. And first of all, I'd like to compliment the Long Range Planning Committee, the architect, for putting together a really nice proposal. It's a gorgeous looking building, and I could see that it serves Sudden Valley. However, I'm a little bit puzzled because it seems that we're conflicting Barn 6 with Barn 8. And I'm just wondering, why couldn't we have a structure that combines the functionality of Barn 6 doesn't have any functionality, but why do we need to refurbish this in addition to building a new building? For example, I like the idea of some of the features, but I'm not going to use the wedding planning event. I've been married 50 years. I'm not getting remarried. My children are already married. And that doesn't mean that other people might not want a wedding center there, but we could, instead of putting something like that, we could have a gym there. We could have other things in that building that are currently meeting rooms, et cetera, that are currently done in Barn 8. So I'm just wondering why is that, and I'm not saying it's the only option that you have, but why can't we, if we're going to spend that money, why can't we sort of kill two birds with one stone? We can still have this barn and get more years out of it and have things there, but some of the important things in Barn 8, like the gym, we could have that space for that over in Barn 6. So we're not looking down at sort of two assessments down the road and two big, expensive construction projects. But I do want to compliment all your hard work. I think you guys have done excellent job, and you know, it looks good. But I'm concerned about you know, taking on that and then taking on another big project. And even though you've outlined that it's only going to be $24 a month, that's not a lot of money. It's probably a good deal. But we might have other assessments coming up, emergency assessments. We've got lots of work to do on roads here, et cetera. And I don't want to take any more of your time, but my point is, why couldn't we combine in the new building the functionality of Barn 8? I guess that's really my thing.
No, I'd like your comments. I'd like you to take a look at the prints in the back when you get a chance, sir. Just take a look at the prints in the back. But there, in Barn 6, there is a gym, and there's also an adult center and a venue that can be used for both all kinds of activities, plus a rental venue. And as you do see, there is a lot happening in the new Barn 6 that does happen in Barn 8. He has a point there. February gets Barn 6 going, get that full functionality, and it's going to take a couple of years, so it's going to be a while. And then we'll see how much of Barn 8 that we really need. Do we need to really do everything? Everybody will have to decide that. But right now, nobody's said do this or that. We're just trying to lay a proposal out and cover both a new building and cover the repairs in Barn 8. So everything's encompassed at the present. The time we rolled back to Barn 8, it could be 3-4 years before we get here. A lot could change. Okay, thank you. Yeah, let me clear, thanks for Michael. Michael's our general manager. He's all excited about this project and wants it to happen. But the 24 for Barn 6 would be $13 to get that going. It'll probably take a couple of years to get it built. And then we would, if we get going on Barn 8, then it would take the other $11. It's broken up. Okay.
My name is Michael DeVolio. I am a former member of the Long Range Planning Committee. And my question is, given the current zoning of this property, has anyone contacted the county to see if they will issue a permit for this work?
We did have a meeting with the county before we made a contract with the architect to do some investigating work. And the footprint of Barn 6 presently, we apply for a permit for it. It's like grandfathered in, but they have a new name for it. Quientin, do you know the name of that permit that we're supposed to, I give you a copy of it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's some name that you permit, but we have no problem building in the existing zone.
My name's Michael Wadsworth, and I live in Gate 13. I'm just going to read something historically here. This is out of the view from 2023. We were asked in 2023 of an advisory vote. Number one, provided voters with 3 options on how they preferred the association to replace Barn 6, known as the Ice Barn. The first option was to remove the existing structure and replace it with an open-air pavilion. This option required no special assessment for funding, and the majority of the voters voted for this option. Option 2 was to remove the structure, replace it with an enclosed structure, and this required an assessment of $11 a month, and that was seconded by the voters. And the third option was just to remove it and be done with it, and it received 191 votes, which was not very many. It goes on to say in the view that the association board members supported option 1. From September 2023 edition, Sudden Valley Views reported that design would begin the next year, beginning with demolition and followed with building. In explanation section provided by the association published in October 2023, it wrote, "It's not cost effective to repair or remove the existing ice barn because of county requirements. To replace the structure, 2 conceptual plans had to be developed. One was removing the structure and replace it with an open-air pavilion, or 2, removing the structure and replacing it with a closed." So the county said that we had those 2 options. The open-air pavilion was only going to cost $1.1 million, and the enclosed structure would have doubled that at 2.24 or 2.4. This concept has been tossed around since 2017. We've spent thousands of dollars on what to do with the barn, and we've been asked 2 or 3 times what we as homeowners would like to see done with the barn. Apparently we answered that question in 23, and the board said they were going to tear it down and start building. None of that ever happened, and suddenly in 2025 we have a whole new pitch for $8 million. I'm concerned, one, I'm on a fixed income. I can't keep working as much as, I'm working 3 jobs. I have my own business, I do side jobs, and I work for a company in town to make my ends meet. That's my problem, because I was stupid when I was young and didn't save anything. But at any rate, there are a lot of elderly out here on fixed income. And it did say in the thing that it was initially a $24 assessment total, but that was just initially. Things change every year, like the gentleman said, with other things coming up. And I also wanted to know, I think this is a great idea. I love the presentation, I love the picture, I love the concept of all that, and then fixing this, and you'd be crazy not to want it, but can we afford it as homeowners? That's the big question. And are we going to get a vote for it, or is this just going to be something tossed on us and we're stuck with it? Because I know one board was actually going to go borrow the money and heck with it. They were going to do it, and we were going to be stuck with it. That was a while back, though, not this board. Anyhow, I'm just concerned.
Well, you know, at our annual general meeting in November, we always have a vote on the budget. And for a special assessment such as would be involved with this project, there would also be a vote, much like the budget. So you'll have an opportunity to vote, and that vote will count. It's not an advisory vote.
I have more of a comment. Christy Smith, Gate 5, 26-year resident. I just want to say my kids learned how to ice skate in that barn. And my little guys learned to ride their bikes in that barn during the summer because it was just a cement floor. So I don't have so much as a question as kind of a comment type thing. Technology's good until it disappears. Our crossroads, community or just a subdivision? I believe we reached a significant point in the journey of Sudden Valley. As a community, we find ourselves at the crossroad, and it's time to seriously consider where we want our future to go. Do we want to continue to grow as a true community with shared facilities, activities, and gathering spaces? Or are we slowly becoming just another subdivision of neighborhoods without a central heartbeat? I'll be the first to admit, like many of you, I've had my share of should have, would have, could have moments when reflecting on past opportunities. But this is our chance to look forward. If we continue to have a functional, vibrant community center, we must think long-term. The Barn 8 remodel is coming, and when it does, it will likely be closed for a significant time. Our remaining current facilities won't be able to absorb the demand. No gyms, fitness space, very limited classroom space, no fitness classes, no rentals, and yes, that also means lost revenue, even if it's temporary. From time to time, people bring up ideas for increasing revenue. One major, often overlooked solution is rentable, accessible community spaces for private events, classes, celebrations, and more. But let's also be honest, our current facilities have limitations. No proper prep kitchen, limited ADA accessibility. For those of you that have been in a wheelchair or had the unfortunate luck to break your foot or using a walker, you know how difficult it is to navigate from this floor to downstairs. For some, it is just not inconvenient. Now I lost my spot. There it is. It's impossible without going outside, walking all the way around the building entirety. And I remember when Barn 6 was open. Like I said, my kids learned to ice skate in that barn. It was an incredible resource, especially in winter. It gave people a place to move, connect, and stay active without battling the weather. It brought life and warmth during our coldest and wettest months. With today's costs, nothing will come cheap. That's exactly why we must be intentional. If we want our community to thrive, to be inclusive, and generate revenue, we must invest in facilities that reflect those goals. If we choose not to, then inevitably we're choosing a different path, and then one that may leave us as a little more than a quiet subdivision without a true sense of place. So here we are. The choice is ours. What kind of future do we want for Sudden Valley?
Thank you.
Glad to see people care. Glad to see there's people out here that care and come. All right, how's that? Is that good? All right. So I have one question, one big one, is you talk about monthly dues. It could be 13, it could be 24. Is that going to be for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Are you going to keep it there, or are you going to keep going up? That's a little bit more. So the ice barn was built for the people back when a whole lot of Canadian people came here and they said they want a place for their kids to practice hockey all year round. So it's kind of how this place was built. I've been here for 35 years. And Sudden Valley has done a lot of changes, but they ignore what really needs to be done, and that's take care of our forests. We have trees leaning over roads wherever I walk, and we're talking about spending $8 million on something, and we can't even take a tree down that's leaning over our roads. Or when we walk through the parks, and there's a big old tree going down this way, so I got to go around this trail because I'm not going under that tree. And I've told people about it a few times. They did take care of this big old trunk that was laying across some of the trails. But we need to start taking care of our thing here. And when did they say this building wasn't going to be able to use again? Has the county given you a date? A date when this building? Huh? No date. So for this was built in 70, 72, and it's been getting upgraded. That kitchen out there has been working the whole time. There's been concerts here. There's been weddings here. Why do we need to spend $8 million to do more of that? If we can just take care of this building, either that or take the other person, take care of one and not both.
So to answer your first question, at today's interest rates, the assessment would continue for approximately 20 years.
So you're going to say, well, hey, we need some money so we can take care of these trees that I'm talking about. So we're going to put that on top of this other stuff. So at some point, we're going to get up to $250 a month. And there's a lot of us, there's a lot of young folks that have moved to Sun Valley because it's a beautiful place. I moved here because I lived in California, and I feel like I'm in a huge tent in my house. It's a huge park, and I hope everybody enjoys that because it's an awesome place to live. It's awesome. But so, when does it stop? Because when I started here, it was $60 a month for my dues. I'm tripled it now, almost. So does it ever stop? I know it costs a whole lot to do stuff. Do we have to keep on doing that?
Well, you know, the cost of living goes up. I mean, the cost of wages goes up. The cost of repairs goes up. Just to, so the work on Barn 8 that has been determined that needs to be done to bring it up to code, that's what we're trying to accomplish when we do the repairs on Barn 8, is to bring it up to code so that it meets weight minimums for the stance floor, shear and wind for the roof and the walls, all those things. That's what is being accomplished when we do the work on Barn 8.
Nancy Alionak, 4 Sandalwood Circle. I hope this is loud enough because it sure sounds it to me. Anyway, our long-range planning committee members assume that County Planning and Development Service has confirmed that as long as a new structure is built within the Barn 6 footprint, no additional permits are required. I wondered about that, so I asked County Planning and Development Service, is there anything you can add about permit requirements for this proposed structure? I did get a long answer, and I'll read part of it. It's from Kyla Walters, our shoreline planner for Sudden Valley. Hi, Nancy. That structure is located within shoreline jurisdiction, within a habitat conservation area buffer, a geologically hazardous area, and a regulated watershed. A shoreline permit will be required for any work on the barn that exceeds an interior remodel or things like siding and window replacement. Sometimes we get questions that don't give a complete picture of what is being proposed, or people ask their questions in a way to get the answer they were looking for, or sometimes they just misunderstand the answer or the process. What I suspect may have actually been said is that mitigation may not be required if they are building within the same footprint as the existing building. But they would not have been told that building a new structure in shoreline jurisdiction does not require a shoreline permit. The association will need to submit either a pre-application or a land use checklist to find out what permits and reports will be required to move forward with this project, and if any reports could be waived. And let me repeat that last bit. The association will need to submit either a pre-application or a land use checklist to find out what permits and reports will be required. So all I can say is I hope you take Kyla's advice to heart, because it will be, a lot of her input will go into whatever permit happens here. And they're, just looking at it, it's not a sure thing. And I guarantee, just from the stormwater work this will require, and that's my opinion, she didn't dwell on it, it will not be 8.4. I'm not sure you'll have to double it, but it will be significant, and it will not be fast, because along with this permitting process, you we are going to be doing Lower Austin Creek bank stabilization and fish habitat enhancement process. Now, if you look at the site plan for this building, the way the site plan was cropped, you may not realize just how close Austin Creek is. And you may notice that the habitat conservation area boundary is not on that site plan. So anything that happens with that Lower Austin Creek bank stabilization is going to be part of working on this, the barn, and any extra parking you want from tearing up the old restored Barn 7 lawn there. Because the one thing I want out of our architect for tonight is what is the capacity of this building? Because that will help determine the number of parking places that you need. And that is always a big issue. This afternoon, I listened to a hearing examiner report, and it's amazing how fast he got into SEPA permit, which is State Environmental Policy Act. And what are you doing about parking? What's the access? How can people get in and out of that area? And the capacity of that building, which was a commercial building in Whatcom County, just a change in use, was 62 people. And that's not very many compared to what your capacity is going to be. I would be very surprised if we even got a permit within 2 or 3 years.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm going to have Quientin answer about the permitting, because you do this every day, and we have addressed Whatcom County about this already.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. We would have to do a pre-app. You know, right off the top, a building permit's going to be required. We're going to have to get a geo report done to understand the soils for seismic. There's going to be a fire sprinkler permit that's required. There's going to be a fire alarm permit that's required. These are all kind of like some of these permit fees that we estimated, and part of that 8.4 million that we're talking about is having to do building permit. We did do a little bit of research, and Ray found some information that basically the building's out of the 200-foot buffer. There is a small little triangle that is within that buffer, but since some prior language, it sounds like we have to go through an exemption process. And then, you know, part of this is the argument or the statement that the existing barn is a assembly use and that our replacement is an assembly use. So we're going like for like. So then you go through a process where you can talk to the planners, and it becomes a kind of a waiver agreement. We just did it for the fire station up the road, Station 22. Where you can ask for administration or a hearing examiner exemption. So basically we would go in the argument that, you know, it was an existing assembly space with existing parking. We're not increasing the square footage. It's still going to be assembly space. And so then it's like for existing. So there is a lot of permits that have to be done. There's a lot more reports that have to be done. Absolutely. That's part of this, you know, that's part of why, you know, the building is 7.2, but then the project's 8.4. It's, you know, there's these other reports and permitting options that have to go through. And that's part of the reason why we kept the footprint within the building. So then that way we're not adding any impervious surface to mitigate any stormwater requirements. I hope that answered it.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Huthert, and I live at Gate 13, and I want to talk about the space that was taken away many years ago, which was the Adult Center. It was supposed to be, the library was, books were moved into the old Adult Center. It was supposed to be a temporary thing, and it's been years. We need to have services, a place for the older people, 1,400, just as much as we need to have facilities for children in this place. I hate to see my older friends, among whom I'm that age these days, have to move out of the community when they reach a point where they need adult care services. Now, with the new plan, there is a designated area for adults, which is probably mostly seniors. There is an area where we can have Meals on Wheels, which will not deliver to the houses here. They can come to a central place so we can have senior meals brought in. There is an area where we can use, somebody said he wasn't going to get married again. When my husband died, it would have been nice to have his memorial here. So it's the area for weddings is not just for weddings. It's for birthdays, family reunions, we've got to think about how we deal with our lives through the entire stretch of our lives. If we want to continue to live here, we've got a gym down there. Nobody can get to it if they're in a wheelchair or with a walker, because the door will not open electronically with a button. We've got furniture down in the reception area of the recreation department, which nobody who is older can get into and get out of again. We need a place where somebody can go who's older, socially isolated, where they can go and find somebody there who will chat with them, who knows what the Golden Girls were, who knows what rationing was in World War II. We need a place where people who are older can go and plug in their wheelchair motor. We need a place for the seniors. And that's what our new building will give us, without throwing the library out, which I adore. I'm part of the Friends, and I love the library. But I need to have the people who are older have an area where they can go. Even a place where if your mom is a little shaky on her thinking process, you could go, she could sit there, play cards or puzzles, and you could tell the person, the volunteer who will be there, and don't think we won't have volunteers. We'll have volunteers there, and they can say, no, Mrs. So-and-so, I don't think you should leave right now. Wait till your son gets here. How many of you have bad knees? Okay, I'm thinking about mine. How many of you had bad hips? Yeah. Honey, we're all aging. And if we want to stay in our community, our beautiful community, we have to think about what we're going to do when we can no longer stay in our houses, run around in our cars, when we won't be able to get around. And that's why I'm going to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
Cheryl Taylor, Gate 1. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. With respect, sir, in your previous, one of your previous slides, you mentioned the 2017 revitalization project. That was a $12 million proposal, not a $5 million proposal, just to let you know. One of the buildings, they proposed 3. Please don't interrupt Mr. Waterman. Don't interrupt Mr. Waterman. My question is, okay, you want $24 a month for 20 years to cover the loan to pay for this, correct? Or, okay, then, okay. What happens after the 20 years? It's paid for, but it becomes an asset of the community and therefore goes in the general budget. What then happens to the general budget? It goes up. It has to go up to pay for it. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It has to go up to pay for it, doesn't it?
So yes, the cost of the loan is $22 a month.
Okay.
Another 2 and change goes into the reserve accounts to cover maintenance.
Okay. Okay. What is being done to mitigate the traffic and the road conditions around here, the infrastructure to support something like this? Because nothing has been said as far as, you know, improving parking or widening roads, which is a little difficult, as we all know. There's no sidewalks, there's no room for sidewalks, so there's one road in and out of this location. Has any thought been given to a second access or another way to get in and out for safety purposes? You know, these are food for thought here.
Yeah, actually, the safety committee is looking at alternate ingress and egress as part of our emergency preparedness. So yeah, safety committee is looking at that.
Oh, okay. But it is going to require some money to make improvements in order to support this project. Now, please understand, I think this is a beautiful rendition and it's a great concept, but there are some things that really concern me about the location, the size, and its intent. What's the extra revenue going to be used for? You put some in the reserve, you said? And some to the safety committee, yes? What is this revenue going to be used for? You mentioned, I'm sorry, you mentioned $40,000 of revenue, potential revenue could come in from weddings. Okay, is that earmarked for anything?
I was going to propose on the board eventually, if this ever happens, that revenue that comes in would go toward the principal of the building to lower the mortgage.
Okay. These are my concerns. The traffic, the costs. $13 a month may not seem like a lot, but I have stood behind seniors standing at a pharmacy being told that they can't get their medicine because they don't have that extra $13 to pay. So I'm concerned for our lower income people. I am concerned for our seniors. I do agree, we need some sort of support for our seniors, but I also think we need some sort of support for our teenagers. We have a lot of teenagers growing up in this neighborhood now, and they need something to do. They need someplace to go. If this place provides it, that's great, you know, but I think the price tag is a wee bit much. Yep.
Excuse me, my name's Don Ashley. I think I voted for the open structure. So my intent coming here was make sure we didn't look at anything better. I would have to say, one thing looking at the plans here, there's adequate restrooms, not excessive, there's adequate restrooms on each level. As we get older, this gets more important. As you have grandchildren, this gets incredibly important. It's not excessive, it's adequate. I'm not going to mention the accessibility. That was very thoroughly covered just a moment ago. I lived here for almost 3 years. Went through the bomb cyclone. I think they call it bomb cyclone. Amazing coming back 11 o'clock that night, and all the roads are covered with fur. Tree went down right ahead of me. Sparks, I'm sure there was a power line went up. I don't know. It was kind of dangerous. And there was mention of a safety center with a backup generator. Now, I know when I lived in the opposite corner of the state, we had a very adequate building for a safety center, but we didn't have overhead sprinklers. And from what I've understood the presentation tonight, we don't have to go through that incredibly expensive retrofit to put sprinklers in. This is appropriately planned. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mitch Waterman, 15 Grandview Lane. 2017, on a special election, the board proposed a project called revitalization. Revitalization was to rebuild the failed spit at the marina, put in fire sprinklers at the marina, otherwise the fire marshal said he would shut it down, to put in new gates and access gates to the marina, to put in a new storage building in Area Z, to rebuild the pool on this building, including the deck, to put a new deck at the quiet pool, to replace this building, and it failed. It failed. It only got a 48% positive vote. It was for 13 plus million. 5.5 million was for this building. What's this building's estimate now? Or what's total project cost now? For replacement of six, how much? 7.2 million. So in 9 years, a 10,000 square foot building goes from 5.5 to 7.6 in 9 years. Well, that's not out of line. That is not out of line. So sidewalks and streetlights, they were never part of the original design of Sudden Valley. They were specifically excluded because it was known as the undevelopment. No design place in the original paperwork was for sidewalks or streetlights. In the last 15 years, we have deleted 25% of the square footage of Sudden Valley, with Barn 7 being destroyed and the rotunda. They were both destroyed because of failed, non-existent maintenance. And it wasn't because people, I believe, just didn't want to do maintenance. They didn't have the money for it. When I was GM, I took over at $68 a month. Well, I would be a pig in happiness at the rate we're paying now. And we still went ahead when we failed on the revitalization, and we figured out a strategy, and we rebuilt the spit, and we put the fire sprinklers at the marina and continued to get that 100,000 plus revenue. And we put in the new gates, and we put in the new storage building at Area Z, and we rebuilt both the pool, the deck, and the deck at the old pool. We could not afford to rebuild the maintenance building, and we couldn't afford to take this building down. This building's design in 2017 was 1/3 open plaza. So it would have been a new dance barn, new gym, bathrooms, and then a big open plaza. And it still failed at 48%. Now, I don't know what that's going to do with the new voting structure. But this building is on its last legs. You look above you, you see where we peeled the roof back to find all the failed infrastructure in the building. This building has $3 to $5 million in structural damage. Is that number correct? Michael? That's 4 million.
4.1.
4.1? This building has 4.1 million in structural damage, and it is not rated for having parties or barn dance parties in here. It can't have sprinklers, you can't serve alcohol. The building is dying, and it's dying just like building 177 died. And when we knocked down building 177, we hit the middle beam on that building and it collapsed. That video is around and it can be seen. The building was rotted and it was old. It was built as a barn and you tried to adapt it and it wasn't adaptable. And this building is just as inflexible in adaptation for new mission or new activities as that other barn was. This new plan is totally flexible. It allows us to have any activity we can think of and at the best possible advantage. Building that and having the activities without shutting this building down. Did you cover that earlier? Having to shut this building down for a year plus? That's the strategy. And I think it's an extremely well thought out strategy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ted Wong. I live in Gate 9. I just have a comment and sort of a question that goes with it. Last time one of these proposals came up, a number of people put forth that this can be a revenue generator, and some numbers have been floated around. And the latest number is approximately $40,000 a year. My question is that gross or net? Because it's going to require staffing, it's going to require people to clean up afterwards, it's going to require people to make reservations, et cetera, that if this is a gross figure, we need to go back and take a look at what a wedding planner would say, okay, what are the overhead costs associated with putting on these events?
I put the $40,000 in there after I talked to some wedding coordinators. That is a gross. That is not after you take out service and rental chairs and all that stuff. That was just a ballpark figure from information I had received on an average rent for that size of space. Nothing there.
Okay, well, that's kind of my point. What the association would actually net from these rentals is going to be less than $40,000 a year. Doesn't mean that rentals are a bad idea, but there needs to be a sort of a complete cost analysis done to get a realistic look at what we would be getting as a gain from facilities rental. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has questions? These participants have already had one question. If you've never had one question, you get to come first. There is water in the back if you guys are thirsty. So, and there's some cookies.
Hey, good to see you too. Hey, I'm Barbara Michelson Harder. I live in Gate 13. Beautiful building. So a couple people have said some of the points I want to make, and one was, if we're going to do this, why mess with this building? We're going to have everything we need in that building. I think $13 a month is a lot more doable for a lot of people than $24 a month. A lot of people don't even make that an hour. And I think if we're looking at how many seniors did say over 65, at least 1,500, and there may be more. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. $24 a month is a lot of money to a lot of people. I'd like to see demographics in our Sudden Valley. I don't want personal information, but I would like to see structure as far as income. How many people are on a fixed income? How many people fall between $25,000 a year and $50,000 a year? And on up, just to see what we think our community can handle money-wise. So if we want this beautiful new building, why are we even talking about this building? I don't understand that. And the other thing, is that a good point? Good, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, and my other point, and I think Jeff, who just spoke, having been I was in the hotel business for years. We don't want to get into if we're going to have weddings, I suggest that we tell them, you rent the building, you bring everything else. You bring everything. You bring your china, you bring your silverware, you bring your napkins, you bring, because we don't want to get into that. That would be ridiculous. Maybe we supply chairs and tables, I don't know. I know that, where is it? I put a note. The ferry terminal. Have you looked at the ferry terminal and the beautiful places they have for weddings? Right downtown, you look out, you see the whole bay. Much less prices than we were quoting. So I think, I don't know who these, yeah, I don't know, and you get everything. So I don't know who these wedding planners were. I'm sure they were very experienced, and I don't know how experienced they were about Sun Valley. And somebody, Diane, said parking. Where are all these people going to park? I mean, it's things to think about. But my main, and a wedding, yeah, and you know, and then you got a lot of liquor, and you got to have security, and you got to have, and if they're going to have a wedding, they got to bring everything, everything. But anyway, my two main points were why fool with this building, and let's really try to be realistic about what our population can handle as an assessment. I think $24, a lot of people, it would just break the bank.
So if I could, I'd like to try to answer your first question about why mess with Barn 8. So we don't have any plan to have exercise equipment in Barn 6. So we would be giving up the exercise room, which we're talking about maybe even expanding. The adjacent locker rooms to the pool, it would not be practical to have everybody shower over in Barn 6 and walk into the pool. So we really need to maintain the locker rooms for the pool access and pool activity that needs to be going on. So we've got pool issues, we got the exercise room issues. I think there has been some consideration given to maybe not repairing and restoring all of Barn 8, but maybe maintaining those areas that can't be placed into Barn 6. Part of that discussion and decision will probably be more fully addressed after Barn 6 is up, if we decide to build it. After it's up, and we determine what sorts of activities that are currently happening here can be moved there. But I think the exercise and the pool are two things that would be very challenging to switch over to Barn 6.
Okay, so here's the suggestion. Why not go back to the drawing board and figure out an alternate architectural plan that will include room? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of room here. I haven't looked at the blueprints, but it sounds like there's a lot of room. Could we not have an alternative plan that would move the exercise room over there, that would give locker rooms for the pool? I mean, what would you lose? I'll have to look. Well, the pool's here, but how far is that? It's a ways. Anyway, just a thought. Just a thought. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, I've got a couple more here, and we're getting close to the 8 o'clock here to get a first question. So,
my name's Tom Henning, 27 Parr Lane. I am also one of your directors. So I got a pretty good look at the seismic evaluation that was done on this building, and I've got an extensive construction background, but I don't need to be a seismic engineer to look at these columns and realize they are woefully undersized. The engineer's drawings and investigations showed that many of these columns are not attached to the cross beams. There's no mechanical fastenings, they're just sitting on top of them. So the question was brought up earlier, you know, how long do we have in this building? Until an earthquake. Magnitude 8 earthquake most likely will bring this building down. And I like science, so I get notified of, you know, a lot of the earthquakes that go on in this area. Over the weekend, Russia, right on the rim of fire, had 4 earthquakes, 1 7.5, 3 7.4s. Alaska had a 6.5, and all the way down to British Columbia, that fault zone is shaking like crazy right now over the last week. We've got the actual Seamount volcano. It's 400 kilometers off the coast of Oregon. They had 300 earthquakes between 3 and 3.5 yesterday. So we don't have a lot of time in this building, I don't think. Things are moving. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
My name is Janine Harbor, and I live on Harborview in Gate 3. I have had the opportunity to watch this group with their planning, and I appreciate the time and the effort y'all have put in. And Quientin, with the information you were given, it's a really great plan. As a recreational trained professional, I spent 30 years in multi-generation and adaptive recreation work, as well as facility maintenance and facility capital campaign structures. So I have a very keen interest in this topic. The beautiful building, the facade is gorgeous. Recreationally, I think there's a lot of changes inside that I would alter. Placement of rooms, levels on which rooms are located. I realize that with the original footprint that we must stay in, that there are plumbing issues from you can't have bathrooms everywhere because of existing plumbing channels and things like that. I understand that. But I think for usage, both recreationally as well as for our community, there are certain things like the common room and the adult center that need to be on the first floor. The way that this building is facing, lovely view, but it basically, the way it's facing, in my opinion, it's basically showing the butt of the building to Barn 8 and to that green space, which if it was shifted so it looked over Austin Creek, you could take advantage of that revenue stream by having the common area, the rental area, also be able to have that nice green space out there that would make it very attractive to any event that wanted to rent out the place. Because you could just have one of those beautiful roll-up doors on nice days, and they could have ready access, plus it would solve your ADA problem, at least for a rental purpose. But as I digress, to answer somebody's question, 21,000 a year, lived here for 22 years. I wouldn't mind paying that assessment. I make it work because I value this community. I have had ample opportunity, especially in the last couple of years, to leave. I'm like, I love my neighbors. I love my community. I love my job, which at my income level, I will never be able to quit. I will never be able to retire, although I'm getting there. But my community, I'm willing to sacrifice for. I'm willing to participate in that way. I used to, when I could actually walk in a straight line, and arthritis wasn't kicking in, I used to be able to do it physically by maintaining trails and cleaning up areas and doing physical labor. But because I can't do that now, I am willing to work with my budget to put in the extra money. I just think that our community is a rare commodity in our area and in our country where we can establish a good community foundation where multi-generations can use space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Mildner, 32-year resident, Gate 3, top of the hill. With all due respect to the board, I think it's a very nice building, and with no slight or pun intended to the architect, perhaps going back to the drawing board might be in order. And here's why I feel that way. A number of people have said that this building is on its last legs. I would totally agree. In the last 32 years, I've watched what's gone on here. Building 7 got torn down, or the adjacent barn, for post-beetles in the structural columns. I think maybe considering ripping off the Band-Aid, closing this facility, gutting it, staying within the footprint, you're going to have an elevator. Why limit it to 2 floors? Go to 3. Get all of the facilities in one building that's adjacent to the pool. This building solves an impossible task, or so it's meant to do, by keeping this building in use with the amenities in a temporary structure and then coming back to fix it. But the reality is you're never going to fix this building. It's got too many structural defects. You'll fix the columns and figure out that the beams need to be done. You'll do the beams and the columns and figure out that the girders need to be replaced. At some point, take off the Band-Aid, get rid of the building, put in some temporary structures for a gym, for access to the pools in the interim, make a road coming down from the golf center while you've got construction coming in from this end, deal with the parking, make the footprint of barn 8 permeable space and move the parking closer. That might be one choice. But to go up another story gets you more square footage, incorporates the adult center, keeps the library where it is over there, and it'll have a shorter time horizon than doing 2 projects rather than just 1, and then a second, because you're going to move all that equipment, you're going to move it back in here, only to find out that this is inadequate when you're done. So, I mean, I think the building's great, but why not do it here where it needs to be? Because you need access to the pool. You're not moving the pool.
Yeah, I think those are very valid points. I wasn't involved with evaluating this building. I was basically tasked to, it's a high level look on that building, right? It's kind of, here's some rooms and spaces. If the project went forward, it would probably have a design committee and really get into what spaces are where and stuff. So this is kind of just a high level 10,000 square foot view of getting all that space built over there and a cost associated with it. And you know, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to, you know, I'm trying to give a conservative kind of cost on this to be like, this is what it is, you know, if you want to move forward. I know from the construction industry, stuff doesn't get cheaper. Yeah, and I think that is a valid point about, you know, what if you rip the Band-Aid off both of them and potentially do a 3-story building here with an elevator, you know, with, I don't know what the height restriction is and stuff like that, but it's a valid point. It kind of goes back to the drawing table for another assessment, but I think that is some valid points maybe for the long-term committee of what that is. Does that kind of answer it?
It does, and we might be pleasantly surprised that it costs less or the same and have the facility adjacent to the pool in one central place without splitting the amenities between the 2 buildings, even if you were to retrofit this for a shorter time horizon. Even if you retrofitted it tomorrow, it's still got a limited time horizon versus a brand new building. So, yeah, I mean, I get what your task was.
Yeah.
And no complaints. I mean, very nice job, but perhaps it should also be looked at that this place be gutted first and dealt with on an interim and temporary basis for the other amenities, and that be turned into an open-air atrium or post building as an outdoor gathering space at a much lesser cost. So, I don't know, just thinking about it.
Yeah, no, appreciate it.
Thank you. It's getting very beyond the time that we have this evening, but I can put it to vote if everybody wants to hear Nancy ask another question, or if you want to go home. You're not? Oh, then why are you here then? Well, we covered the... will.
But the sooner you do it, the sooner you can find out what your timeline is, because you will know what permits you have. It's like stalling. Why stall?
We haven't got a green light to do anything. This is all preliminary. I thank you all for coming tonight. You took a lot of time. Hopefully it was knowledgeable. We might need to do this again. Is this a good time? 6:30 is a good time zone? Okay. Thank you all. We will take any comments, Long Range Planning Committee. We have an email, Long Range Planning, Sudden Valley. We'll take them. We'll read them. Thank you.